Hey friends, and welcome. My name is Dr. Heather Cardin. Welcome to Ask Dr. Heather. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. So I kind of have a weird title on there tonight because it seems to be a lot of the people I've been talking with the last few days, whether it's been patients or with people online, I'm going to call it weird science, because back in the 80s when we were talking about fat, we were talking about salt, it all was thought about being weird science. Even back in the 90s when we were talking about salt, and even today I'm still finding that tug of war about eating salt and fat being considered weird science, where we know it's so important for our overall health. So as you're joining me, let me know where you're joining from. Let me know if you think this is in the weird science. I think it's very, very important science. Hey Joanne, thanks for joining. Let me know where you're joining from, Carrie. So if we're thinking this is weird science, I don't think it's weird science. I think it's something everybody ought to know, and generally it's pretty basic logical science. So we're going to talk about electrolytes tonight and why they're so important, why salt's so important, and why you probably aren't getting enough in your diet, and why you may need more electrolytes. Electrolytes are not something that you have in your body automatically. You get them from the foods that you eat, you get it from the water that you drink, and they are so important. So what are electrolytes? They are sodium, calcium, chloride, potassium, magnesium. All those are electrolytes. Again, your body doesn't automatically have them in there. We get them from the foods that we eat, and we get them from the water that we drink. So thanks for joining me, guys. Let me know again where you're joining from. If you have a question, drop it down below. So we know what happens when our electrolyte balance becomes too low, our body starts malfunctioning. So what happens? We can have muscle weakness, we can have weird heartbeats, we can do dizziness, we can feel fatigue, we can have weird muscle twitches, eye twitches. All those things can happen when our electrolyte gets out of balance. Think about this for a minute. If you're thinking salt is a weird science, think about this. The minute you go to an emergency room, they generally give you a bag of IV that has sodium chloride, have some type of saline in it, or has some type of sodium in it, right? Salt, we're thinking about that. I just had a salt conversation with my mom, or have had the last couple days, a couple patients the last few days, a salt conversation. That's why I'm calling it weird science, because these patients have been over 29. So they're still saying, you know, I can't have salt, but yet they're asking for ketchup, or I see ketchup in their food diary. I can't have salt, I need low salt cashews, but again, I'm seeing foods that have high sodium, which is processed salt. Salt that's been heated up, broken down. I like to call it diner salt. But we need sodium. It's so important for our body. Our heart runs on a sodium potassium pump. Our kidney runs on a sodium potassium pump. And when our sodium gets too low, again, things happen. Or we start getting heart arrhythmias. We start getting muscle spasms. A lot of things can happen. So again, we get them from the foods that we eat, but let's really start honing in on salt specifically, because again, we've got several different electrolytes, because when we mix water with electrolytes, we talked about eating sodium, potassium, chloride, magnesium, those type of things, it actually acts as electricity in our body to make things happen. Those are supercharged cells. So when we start talking about salt being super important for the human body, it's actually crucial or essential. When we say something is essential, it means you must have it for human survival. So when we talk about sodium and chloride, those are the two elements that make up salt. It's essential for the body because it's essential for every muscle function to happen in our body. So we have to have it. It helps regulates fluid balance in and out of our body. So if you've ever sweat before and you think, man, my sweat tastes kind of salty, and I know we've all done it, right? Don't say you haven't tasted your sweat before, you know, or if you've wiped your forehead before and you've accidentally tasted your hand, you know it's salty. It's because that's sodium getting out of our body, or salt getting out of our body, and then we need to replenish it. Or if you've ever actually lost some weight before me, you hear that talking about all the time, especially on like a ketogenic diet, a low carb diet, or anytime you lose 20 or 30 pounds, I always recommend that you have a comprehensive metabolic panel check, which checks your sodium, your potassium, magnesium, your chloride, because you'll actually lose those essential electrolytes when you're also losing fat and toxins out of your body. So we need to make sure we regulate those proper body fluids anytime you're moving in and out, right? So we need to make sure whether your scale is going up, it's going down. Those things are super important to actually watch, because they serve an important role in our body. So I'm going to give you just 5 or 6 really important health benefits of why you want to make sure you have a healthy amount of sodium or sea salt or salt in your diet. So just think about that for a few minutes. And remember, it's essential for survival. So I made way too many notes tonight. I was thought I had a different meeting. I got my calendar wrong. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk about sodium because it keeps coming up. Anytime a topic keeps popping up, I generally think it's time that we actually talk about it, because sodium is so important for fluid and the transmission of fluid in and out of different organs like our kidney and our heart cells. Again, think about our body. We have little pores on our skin that actually work like little revolving doors, that when it's hot, they open up to allow fluid out, to allow our body to cool. And when it's cold, they close them in to actually help keep the body warm, to keep fluid and stuff in there. Let's talk about some of the benefits that we have of salt. That's right, salt is something we should have. And if you join me late, let me know where you're watching from. The reason I labeled this weird science is because back in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, we were telling people don't have salt. I'm still hearing it today. I even heard it this week. Oh, my doctor said I can't have any salt. There are so many reasons. Again, if an ambulance pulls up to my house, the first thing they're going to do on triage is they're going to hook up a bag of something that has salt in it, that has the clear fluid. They're going to put sodium in your body. It's the first thing on your CMP or BMP, which is a basic comprehensive metabolic panel. They're going to check your sodium level. It's so important. Sodium level drops. It can also be indicative of your blood pressure dropping too low. It can be indicative of your heart being out of rhythm. But let's just talk about that. We need actually salt in our body to help alkalize our body. When your body goes into acidosis, it's because the sodium level can be actually too low. That can happen if you're out in the ocean for too long or you get stuck out there too long. It also, if you get overheated in the summertime or any other type of heat exertion, your body can actually get in too much and not get alkalized properly. So we need enough water and enough salt or sodium to actually help alkalize our body. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them down below. Hey, Leanne, good to see you. I know you just live right over there, but we haven't seen each other due to the quarantine and some other things. We also know that we need sodium, number 2, for a strong immune system. It actually helps build a very strong immune system because it helps keep our body in that acidic alkaline so that we don't allow bacteria, viruses, and critters and things to grow in there. It actually helps fight off different bacteria and things like that. It helps fight off colds and flus. You know, it's very common practice that people brush their teeth every day, gargle with salt water. Think about little kiddos when they actually lose a tooth. We have them gargle with salt water because it's so good for the gums of the mouth. It's also good for thinning out mucus. So a lot of times when people have allergy season, we have people doing saline rinses because it's a great idea to get all that mucus out of there. When people take a decongestant, it's allergy season right here in the Midwest here in Kansas, and when people take something like a decongestant that clogs everything up, we've got sinuses here, we have sinuses here that sit up here that all drain down the back of your throat, or they can get the ear clogged up. When you take something that stops the drainage, the stuff's getting stuck there, that's when it can turn into an infection. So you want to make sure it's draining properly. That's why I love a good saline rinse or good sinus rinse. All you need to do is just get a saline rinse bottle. You can get them at your local pharmacy, or you can buy them and have them delivered to your home right now, probably off Amazon or somewhere else. You put about a half a teaspoon or teaspoon of sea salt in there, saline salt, Epsom salt. You can even put a little colloidal silver in there if you don't have an infection, but you just want to rinse out your sinuses. You want to have a nice clean sinus rinse going on there. Same thing, gargling your water, gargling your throat, with salt water, I'll slow down. It helps thin mucus out there. So it helps fight off infection because it's thinning the mucus to help clean that out so the mucus doesn't get stuck back in there. So it's great for allergy season, great for any type of bacteria and mucus you have building up in there. It's also great for weight loss. So if you think that it thins out mucus, like again the back of your throat, think what it does if you're going to tenderize a nice steak or tenderize a nice piece of meat, right? Why do we put the salt on the steak? To tenderize it, because it helps emulsify that fat. It does the same thing in your body. So put a pinch of sea salt on your food before you eat it. Don't do it when you're cooking, because if you cook it, then you denature it and it turns into that table salt diner that we don't want. That's not very healthy. But putting a pinch of sea salt on your food, putting a pinch of sea salt in your water can be very, very healthy for you, because we know that our thyroid needs iodine to convert T3 to T4 to keep our basal metabolic rate up. So it's so important for T3 and T4 before conversion. It's great to keep our basal metabolic rate up. So again, pinch of sea salt 3 or 4 times a day. As long as you're drinking half your body's weight in water, it's not going to make you retain water. It's not going to make you swell up. Again, it's very essential for our body. And if you're looking at your labs, you've had them done, a normal optimal sodium level should be 140 to 144. The range on the lab will be maybe 135, 136 to maybe 146, but once it hits 135 or 134, they're going to hook up an IV bag. So let's not wait till it gets there. Let's keep it around that 140 to 144 mark and make sure you're drinking plenty of water. You're putting a pinch of sea salt on your salad, your eggs, your steak, your fish, whatever it is that you're eating. Again, if you're not getting enough with your diet, or if you have a boiled egg, you can stick it in some sea salt or put it on your veggies. Again, you can have it in your water. It's going to help with digestion because it's going to help break down some of those healthy fats and proteins. We know as we age, a normal part of aging is that we don't break down proteins very efficiently. Also, as we age, we start to lose teeth. We don't chew our food 30 to 50 times. It's just a normal part of aging that we just don't do that very well. So how do we help rectify that? Is putting things like salt on our food to help kind of pre-chew our food. It helps keep the acidity in our stomach nice and low because we need that in our stomach. Again, it helps emulsify those proteins and fats as we're digesting food. It also does a great job for our skin. We talked a little bit earlier about if it's a hot environment or a drier environment, it does a great job at helping oily skin balance out, a great job at helping eczema, does a great job for increasing circulation. So taking a nice Epsom salt bath, maybe you're an athlete and you want to increase that circulation, maybe you're a person who has some diabetic neuropathy, again, you want to check with your healthcare provider before taking an Epsom salt bath if you do have some diabetic neuropathy. However, if you just have some decrease in circulation because you sit at a desk job all day long, you're not getting at least the minimum steps in a day, which is 15,000 steps, and now that we have this social quarantine, you're not able to go to parks and walk, and you're not getting that good circulation, make sure you're getting in a nice Epsom salt bath. That what's going to happen is you're going to absorb the minerals through the Epsom salt, and if you have a 6-foot tub, you need about a half a cup. If you have a nice big spa tub, you could go 3/4 to a whole tub. If you go to askdrheather.net and do home spas or home therapy or detox baths, I have about 10 different detox baths that you can put down there, which are great for improving circulation, great for hydrating your healthy tissue. It really can help your body help balance out the pH of your tissue, especially if your diet's off, maybe you drink a lot of soda, you have a lot of processed food or fried food, and if you're putting all that stuff in your gut, it's really hard to get it out through your skin. Our skin is our largest organ, so we want to make sure that it's able to detox properly, and putting it in a nice hot bath, a dry sauna, an infrared sauna allows those pores to open up and really open up and sweat and detox out what it doesn't want. If you don't have a dry sauna or infrared sauna, then a bathtub, an Epsom salt bath, is the next best thing. We talked about before, if the potassium gets too high, the sodium gets too low, that's indicative of adrenal fatigue. We'll start to talk about heart arrhythmias. So your heart can get out of balance because we know that if we have potassium out of balance, which is an electrolyte, or sodium out of balance, it can start to affect our heart rhythm. So your heart can either slow down, it can start to skip, you can start to get some ataxia against a little bit different muscles out of a rhythm, and it will definitely start to affect the cardiac or heart muscle. Another reason to make sure that you're getting enough sodium in your diet, again, it's not the table salt. That table salt has been heated up and all the nutrients have been taken out, but pink Himalayan sea salt, kosher salt, Celtic salt, those are the great types of salt. Dr. D. Nicoletto has a great book. I didn't say his name right, D. Nicoletto. It's called The Salt Fix, F-I-X. It's a great book. I do recommend that you read it. And also, we talked about being great for asthma, for allergies. It's also great for reducing cholesterol for the same reason. It helps thin out fat. It helps break fat down. It helps, shove out fat through your arteries. So it's a great thing, again, to put on 5, 6, 7 times a day. We also know it's great for osteoporosis because it does help break down calcium so your body can absorb calcium, boron, molybdenum, selenium, some of those other things that make up healthy bone that we only think of calcium, maybe only think of magnesium, or maybe think of vitamin D, but there's a lot of trace elements that go into making healthy bone, and sodium or salt happens to be one of those things that are super important for healthy bone. And if we can't digest it from the foods that we're eating, then it makes sense that we need to give a little more help for our gut to help digest the food, break down the elements that we need so our body or our small intestine can absorb it and put put it where it needs to be, which is into making healthy bones. So it helps draw that out so we don't get deficient in that. We also know that it helps with muscle spasms, so that also helps balance out the bone to muscle, because we know muscles attached to bone via ligament. So if we're in the proper ratio, then we're not going to have the spasms tearing away from the bone or ligament, so you're less likely to have an injury if you're an athlete or just starting to exercise. It's going to help balance that out, and that's specifically potassium, which I want to throw this fact out. There's actually 500 milligrams of potassium in an avocado. You do not need the banana. You can get it in avocado. Sodium you can actually get from celery. That's why the big rage is about doing celery. So if it still scares you to put on sea salt or Celtic salt, pink Himalayan sea salt, volcanic salt, if that scares you to put on your food, have some celery. You can dip your tuna salad in celery. You can have some celery with a snack or a little nut butter on top of your celery. You can put it in soups or salads. You can juice some celery, and 2 or 3 sticks is plenty for a day. You're also going to get some natural sodium from that, also from eating some nice tomatoes that are coming in season. So you can get, again, a nice balance from those, which are going to help your bones, going to help your breathing, going to help allergies. It's going to help your muscle balance. It's going to help your heart, going to help your allergies. A lot of amazing things can happen. And generally your vegetables are going to be your highest source of those trace minerals that turn into electrolytes in your body. So hopefully I gave you just some nice little tips here. I know there's some questions here, so I'm going to roll back through those. But just remember that we look at essential minerals. Salt is one of those essential minerals. It's important because it's an electrolyte in your body. The electrolytes help with fluid balance. Fluid balance is so important for your heart, for your kidneys, for your gut, for digestion, for circulation. People think it's just about going to the bathroom. It's so much more than that, because we have what's called a sodium potassium pump. We have these ion channels in our body that help regulate it, and anytime it gets out of balance, and generally it's not out of balance because we are eating too much salt. It's generally out of balance because we're deficient, because either we're taking diuretics or we're having food that either has processed the bad salt in it, or we're not eating enough of the good salt. So that book, again, somebody asked, is called The Salt Fix, F-I-X, by Dr. D. Nicoletto. I will write that down here. It's D-I-N-I-C-O-L-A-T-T-O. I know I'm not saying that right, but just remember that it does play a crucial role in human health. I'll let you do some research on it. I always want you to be a little skeptical of anything that I say. Challenge what I say. Go do some research and see what you find out. But I do want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. Hopefully I brought a little value. Maybe if you know you're an allergy sufferer, or you're a person who has a friend or family member who's suffering from allergies, Saline Rinse, gargle with salt, get in the bathtub to help balance out your pH, get a good sweat going on. That always helps thin out the mucus this time of year. And for gut digestion, put a pinch of sea salt 3 or 4 times. If you have a thyroid issue, underlying thyroid issue, or ovary issue, believe it or not, the thyroid robs the sodium or iodine from the ovaries. If your ovaries, and this is for females of course, if your ovaries are on the other side of life, like they're shutting down, you're no longer in childbearing years, or you've been surgically had them removed, or again, they're not being used anymore in life, then your thyroid has nowhere to rob the iodine from. So that's, again, a great reason for you to start putting some iodine. Some people do some swabbing iodine on their body, but it does have potential of staining clothes. Or you want to use an iodized salt, you want to use a sea salt, a Celtic salt. Again, always check with your healthcare provider. If you're worried about your blood pressure being elevated, the only reason I've ever seen that be elevated if people add natural salt like the sea salt is because they're not drinking enough water. I literally had someone say this week or last week they're only drinking like 6 to 8 ounces of water a day because they don't want to be bothered with the bathroom. We know we can only go 3 days. 3 days we can survive without water. It is that important. And so what happens is if we're not drinking enough water, then our body starts to try to put everything into a balancing act. And so it starts to shut down this and shut down that. It shuts off the thirst mechanism, so you don't even feel thirsty anymore. So the body says, okay, enough of that. We also know the major function of the large intestine is to reabsorb water. So if we're not drinking enough water, it'll shut off the balance of the sodium mechanism, and then you're going to have some bowel issues that go along with it. So it's super important from our mouth to the toilet, from inside out, right? From our heart to our gut to our lungs, those nice big hollow organs and filled organs to the outside of our body, that we are getting enough benefits. I do have an article written on my blog, the 10 benefits of having salt in your diet and in your life to fuel your body for the right ones. And I'll answer a couple questions here, and then again I want to thank you guys for joining me. This is Dr. Heather coming to you live from Overland Park, Kansas, and Tammy's coming to us live from British Columbia. Thank you, Tammy. Hey, Gianna, nice to see you here. Michelle, thanks for joining us. What is your opinion on artificial sweeteners? I get bad cramps from it. So that is a great question. So Rosanna, your body's already telling you, if you get a cramp from a sweetener, your body's always saying, hey, I don't like that. Don't give that to me. So I'm a no-go with artificial sweeteners for many reasons. For one thing, you don't want to put anything artificial in your body. If you can't eat it and it wasn't meant to be real food, then don't put it in there. That's the same thing whether it's skincare, hair care, whatever. If you can't put it in your body, don't put it on your skin. So no artificial sweeteners. If we're going to bake something, we do use a little bit of stevia, truvia, allulose. Those are the ones. A little bit of erythritol, but erythritol is not super great with my tummy. I can do it in little small amounts if it's a very high quality. We know that artificial sweeteners have been known to cause things like MS and cancer in rats and in lab animals. So you can find those results on Dr. Google, I call it. So you can look on the internet for that. But if you're getting cramps, your body's already telling you that. It also raises your blood sugar. We have a lot of diabetes happening in every population of people. Children have the fastest growing rate of diabetes because it tricks your tongue. Oh my gosh, it's sweet, even though it's artificial. And then your body says, oh, there's something sweet like a carbohydrate. It starts dumping insulin. Your blood sugar starts to go up. So I love that your body's already telling you, I don't want that. Leave it alone. So that's great. Their body's telling you that. So Rosie's saying, every time I take an exogenous ketones, my electrolytes go way out of whack, and how much salt do I need to drink? So Rosie, I don't know which brand of exogenous ketones that you are drinking, but if you're drinking the right exogenous ketones, or even on the ketogenic diet, so I'll just talk about the ketogenic diet. When your body's using ketones or fat for fuel, when you break down a fat molecule, fats are really filled with a lot of water, and they also have toxins in there. So anytime you're losing weight or losing fat, or you're breaking down fat, think of it like a sponge, you're going to lose electrolytes. And that's why I shared earlier, I don't know if you heard this, anytime I have a patient that loses 20, 25, 30 pounds, we pull blood work again to make sure they're not losing B6, B12, sodium, potassium, magnesium, because you're going to lose all those essential electrolytes and minerals anytime your body is losing unwanted fat, because that's fluid that's smashing out those fat cells. So it would be normal on a ketogenic diet, a low carb diet, even if you're on a paleo diet and you're losing 20 or 30 pounds, you need to have your labs checked every 20 to 25 pounds to make sure that you're not losing essential electrolytes. Or if someone's getting leg cramps, having headaches, and we know they're drinking enough water, how much salt to drink? Well, you drink it until you don't feel like you have a headache or you're not having cramps or things like that. It's going to be different for each person, whether you're 150 pounds, 50 pounds, 400 pounds. It really is different for each person, because some people sweat a lot, some people don't sweat very much, some people are on diuretics, some people are not, some people have 1 or 2 bowel movements a day, some people have more. So there's a lot of factors, but generally 5 or 6 pinches a day for the average normal person who is not on a weight loss program. But again, if you're losing 5 to 6 pounds of fat a week, then you need to have more electrolytes in your body. And electrolytes are salt, potassium, chloride, but you never want to take potassium if it hasn't been checked on lab work. I do want to say that. Magnesium is one you can take to bowel tolerance. So magnesium you can take morning, noon, and night. And if you start taking too much magnesium, you just get mushy stool. So then you want to back off from it. So these are great questions. And yes, Lisa, absolutely. This is meant to be shared. You can share this to your Facebook page. You can share it with friends, and know that I am here to share information and questions that I get. And the reason I do these is instead of answering one question at a time. So keep dropping your questions down below. I'm going to say good night for the evening. And I want to just say thank you again for joining me, and thanks for asking your questions and always continuing to inspire me. And I look forward to seeing what questions you guys have today or tomorrow. And you guys have an amazing evening. If you are on our 10-day keto kickstart, big high five. We are day 8, and day 8, I'll just let you know, if you want to play along, you can play along here. Day 8 is about telling me something about you I don't know. So that could be something about maybe it's your love language, maybe you have, maybe you love to do community service, maybe you love dogs, maybe you love kids, maybe it's something about yourself that I don't know. So I would love for you to share something about yourself, even if you're not participating in that group, but you're participating here. Tell me something about yourself that I don't know that you would love for me to know. The other one is that people are sharing is something they've done the last 8 days. So maybe they drank water the last 8 days. Maybe they did their intermittent fasting fasting for the last 8 days. Maybe they didn't snack for the last 8 days. So it's something that they've done that they're really proud of in our 10-day keto kickstart. So maybe there's something you've done. Maybe you participated in our 40-day. I need to announce those winners in our 40-day eating clean, and you're really proud of yourself that maybe you gave up gum, maybe you gave up soda, maybe something you did for Lent, or maybe something you did for Passover, something that you did that you're really proud of yourself over the last few weeks. Please share with us down below. We want to celebrate with you, and we want to get to know you better. So give me something about yourself. Again, it could be from a love language book. It could be something about your personality. It could be something that maybe a craft that you like to do, or a hobby. We'd love to know more about you and learn more about you. Again, this is Dr. Heather saying have an amazing evening, and I'll be seeing you soon.